This webinar is presented by the Chamber of Commerce of the Palm Beaches. My name is Michelle Stocker. I am the Director of Sponsorships and Special Events. And welcome everyone. Thank you for choosing to join this webinar. This is being presented by Justin Cerrone, who's the CEO of Lincoln Digital Group, which has business across publicly traded Fortune 500 companies, businesses actually of all sizes that cross from the automotive industry to jewelry, to perfume, and all kinds of interesting things. So Justin's expertise is represented by the breadth and depth and varied sizes of organizations that he consults with to help them put together strategic, short-term and long-range quantitative and qualitative marketing plans. Justin is also a trustee at the Chamber of Commerce and probably one of our most active trustees, so we're grateful for that. And Justin, thank you so much for doing this webinar for us. We're so thrilled to have you, and we appreciate you sharing your expertise and your time. And thank you for all the time that you've put into thoughtfully preparing for this. So with that said, I have one housekeeping thing. My sincere apologies. Only one housekeeping. We're keeping webcams off. We're asking everyone to mute your microphones. Justin does have some poll questions that I think will be interesting for you, so we ask that you do answer those. And he is interested in having live questions asked, so please use your question button as an attendee, and throughout the presentation, please ask the question at the time that you have it, and Justin and I will be watching the questions, and he will do his best to answer them in live time. So, with that said, I will now formally hand the presentation over to Justin. Thank you so much, Justin, and we're very eager to hear from you, and thanks for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate the introduction, and as always, thank you to the Chamber for continuing to produce informative webinars in a very unusual time. Obviously, there's a substantial need for the business community to receive webinars such as those that you've been putting on, and I want to thank you on behalf of Lincoln Digital Group and myself. I found them informative, and I hope the entire membership does as well. So thank you for your continued leadership, and thank you all to the attendees who've registered and joined today. As Michelle mentioned, I am Justin Cerrone, the CEO of Lincoln Digital Group. Pleased and honored to be able to share some ways to find marketing opportunity with you in these highly unusual times. And I'm excited about what we have to share today. Unfortunately, the coronavirus outbreak has made a notable impact on how we do business and how we live, more importantly, and that's likely to change for a very long time. So in the interest of everyone's time, I want to point out that this webinar is about how to make the most of what comes after this initial outbreak. It is not a webinar or information on what to do now or in response immediately to the outbreak. This is about how to look around the corner, how to open up our calendars and plan and prepare for the second half of 2020 and into the beginning of 2021 in order to maximize where we are now. So that all being said, okay, a little bit about us as an agency. We were founded in 2013 as a digital marketing agency. I currently lead about 12 team members full-time across all marketing functions in the United States. And with our business and our model, we support and execute marketing, both traditional and digital, everywhere from the United States down to Ecuador at the moment. So that's a little bit about us. Okay, so on today's agenda, very short and straightforward. A few questions in the beginning. The meat of the matter is how we're going to find opportunity in the second half of 2021, and then how we can look forward around the corner to begin executing. So let's start with some questions, because as we're presumably all tasked on this call with growth, either through sales or through marketing or some other form of business development, we're probably all in a very similar boat. So I'm going to ask a poll here shortly, but some things that we're likely experiencing together in some form or fashion are: we've experienced sharp sales decreases within the past 30 days. Your business may have reduced marketing significantly. You may have canceled all marketing for 30 to 60 days, and you may have even suspended other growth plans. Chances are, if you're in a growth-oriented function, you can relate to one or more of these questions as a result of the coronavirus outbreak in the current business landscape. This, of course, brings some challenges for growth-oriented business people. How do I grow after this? Primarily is a pertinent question. What do I need to do differently with my business to keep growing? How do I fulfill sales in this digital world? And how should I deploy my even more limited marketing budget in light of the coronavirus outbreak? So these are all questions that a lot of marketers, business owners, we're all wrangling with at this time. And I want to let you know that you're not alone. We are all sharing some of these concerns and questions, and now it becomes, what do we do about them? So you may also be wondering, should I stop advertising entirely? A much wiser man than me shared this quote, and I think it's very pertinent. It comes up roughly every recession or challenging time. Of course, I'm assuming we all know who Henry Ford is. And of course, he was a very wise man and successful entrepreneur. That's his take on the matter. So if you're wondering why you should be considering marketing or advertising right in the here and now, as opposed to pausing it altogether and thinking there is no hope for growth, take it from Henry Ford. He's certainly a man who saw around the corner as it relates to opportunity. So let's talk about how we act on that opportunity. Okay. At its core, all marketing is about connection. It doesn't matter if it's traditional, digital, experiential, if it's 2020 or 1920, we do this to create connection with our audience and drive sales. That's always been the case. But now, and I think more than ever, we could argue it's about connection via digital. And what do I mean by that? I mean through digital tools. I mean through digital experiences. This is where the opportunity exists. And if you look around at some of the fast movers in today's economy, such as Domino's, such as McDonald's and the things they're doing with contactless delivery, as well as Target and retail establishments with curbside pickup. All of these brands and smart businesses are realizing that the new opportunity to make a connection in today's economy is primarily through digital tools. And that's why we're seeing the adoption of numerous new experiences and technologies to fulfill sales in a new manner. Okay. I mentioned there was opportunity to be had and ways to make use of that connection that we want to achieve. So I'm going to share some stats that exemplify it to show you just how big the opportunity is. First one, since the outbreak, there is an international advertising platform called Criteo that did a study. There was a 130% increase in US online sales compared to the average year over year in March. There was also about a 66% drop in in-store sales compared to the average in March. I will share that chart on the next slide. Verizon, the largest cell phone carrier in the United States, reported a 20% increase in US cell phone web traffic since the outbreak. I would dare to say that's on the lower side of what we will hear. And lastly, on another slide, 47% of worldwide customers responded to a study saying they plan to purchase more goods online over the next year compared to the previous year. So think about that. Roughly half of the world's customers saying they plan to do more online shopping. If that doesn't scream out opportunity to you, this may. This is the exact point in time from the beginning of the year where we started to see the impact on opportunity for sales and marketing. This is a chart, again, by an ad platform named Criteo, and you can see the week of March 9th, the purple line, which represents online sales, started to skyrocket. As a starting point, 100 is par. That is our baseline. That's all things being equal. So you can see when the virus first started to spread, a 3% bump in online sales, 7% drop. It only got sharper from there to the point where you can see on the final week of March, there was 130% growth in online sales for retailers who are both online and off. Fortunately, the flip side, of course, is the nearly 70% drop in in-store sales. Again, of course, this is a challenge, but it should also indicate there is substantial opportunity. So let's talk about how we make the most of that from a marketing standpoint. So these are the 7 ways. I'm sure most of you or your marketing teams have thought about many of them. There are many more than this, but these are a very straightforward, foundational, and fundamental starting point to begin analyzing your second half of 2020 from. Seasonality, a foundational element of marketing. So the 4 seasons all bring changes in people's behavior, which of course creates opportunities for brands to demonstrate they understand what's new, what's current, and what's relevant in society. Because when you can demonstrate you understand why your customers do what you do and demonstrate you understand how they behave, you can become the brand that makes the connection with them. And when you make the connection with them around seasons, you achieve seasonal relevance, and your brand can go from summer to fall to winter by staying relevant and understanding of what's current. Okay, so again, consider what opportunities your audience may have to gather in the second half of the year. Will they go to barbecues? Will they be visiting orchards? Will they be going to amphitheaters? Okay, and then secondly, what does your brand sell, or what does it do, for example, that makes their life better in those summer or autumn activities? You know, how do you make them safer? How does life become more convenient? How do you become more relevant to what they're doing in the here and now, especially in light of COVID? And those opportunities will still continue with the seasons, no pun intended. And remember, your strongest advantage could be exemplifying what your brand has already done right here and right now to make life better for your audience. And those are the examples you want to show and discuss, because they're going to be more important moving forward than they've always been. Okay. The other seasons would follow the same thought pattern, which of course brings us to the holidays. Okay. So it's the annual marketing bonanza for basically every consumer brand. At least that's what it once was. But the second half of 2020 brings July 4th, Labor Day, Columbus Day, Election Day, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, and Christmas, as well as Halloween and Black Friday, just to name a few. So those are 8 total days, and they are all opportunities to connect with your audience. So think about things like how your product applies to becoming a great holiday gift. Was it a great holiday gift before? How should it change now? Does it do something now that you may not have realized, or people may not have done, that makes it even more relevant this holiday season? Is it especially well suited to a use case on 4th of July, for instance? Or is it better on Thanksgiving? These are all things to consider, and importantly, consider how has it been used in small gathering environments lately or now? And does it create a different experience for people if they're using it in a small group, maybe just 2 people, compared to a larger group, 8 or 10 people? And how does that also improve their holidays? You know, that key question of how does it make life better now post-coronavirus is going to be asked again and again by audiences in determining what to consume moving forward. Okay, so if there is a technical or virtual aspect of your product that could replace some of how people typically behave at the holidays, consider it, and I would encourage you to consider developing it now. I don't think you can be too prepared in light of what's happening to have some digital or virtual replacements for your more traditional holiday experiences ready for your audience to consume. Product or service launches. Okay. So once the environment becomes more normal, there should be opportunities in the landscape to make a major announcement and own your target audience's attention for a prolonged amount of time. Your big news can still be big. Your leaps forward would and should still be big leaps. And so that means you should continue with preparation of announcement campaigns and show your product functioning well in our new world. Show how it fits, okay? Show how it makes life better, safer, or more comfortable now than it did previously. These are what customers are going to be concerned about when determining which new product or service is best for them. The comfort, as far as how it fits in our new COVID world, will be a paramount question, okay? And something else to consider is, what can you do today to serve this new economy, okay? If you were to go to the drawing board today, so to speak, what would you do if you were to specifically design something in response to the coronavirus? As one example, here's something you can see on our website. It's something we delivered for a client where we conceptualize and launch a valet service for them, help them bring their products and services to people's homes. This is a set of identity, print, video, landing page, and email assets that we created to help launch their new service, which enabled them to create a connection by being more convenient to their customers' lives. And of course, being more convenient is an enhancement, typically, of your business or offerings. And that leads us to number 4, repositions and enhancements. And so in crises, many businesses find their products or services get repurposed by an ingenious customer or 2 along the way. And their thinking goes that necessity is the mother of all innovation, and the company simply has not either thought of or acted on that product before the customer showed them using it that way, okay? And so think about a few things as you look for how to reposition your product. If someone, let's say an adult, okay, were to land on Earth tomorrow, what's the most obvious way they would use your product or service? If they were totally unfamiliar with it, how would they pick up your product, or how would they request your service, and how would they use it? Think about it through this way and consider all the ways people may also use your product or services that you may never have thought of. And then ask yourself, do they align with my marketing plans? In other words, are the new ways that people are showing their use of our products, does that align with who we speak to or plan to speak to in the future? And does that align with what we're telling them? Or are they using it one way and we're telling them to use it a completely different way in our market? Okay, so that's a question to ask yourself. Secondly, seek out your smart customers. There's an entire group of folks who use the internet for a primary purpose of posting themselves, using photos, interacting with brands and their services, okay? They will be more than happy to show how they used your product differently than you do or you recommend. Some of this is just ingenuity. Some of it is curiosity. People do post this information. And if you use a social listening tool to gather the information, you will see what people are saying about your products. You'll see when they're mentioning your products. You will see how they're using your products. And it won't take the typical R&D process to create a repositioning of your products. Your customers will show you how else they are using your goods. Okay? And so when you then think about how I could enhance my products in light of coronavirus, okay, it starts with how can you create a more tailor-made customer opportunity through technology. So if you're enhancing your service, you're providing things like Target does to drive up delivery to pick up products, McDonald's, contactless delivery. Of course, that's not its own service line at this point. That's an enhancement of something McDonald's was already doing, which was delivery. Starbucks has been ahead of this for a long time, as you see on the image in the bottom right. They've been using contactless payment methods for the better part of the past decade, okay? And so think about how your product can enable or can utilize, think about how your experience can utilize technology to be better, more convenient, and more tailored to someone's life, and you will create a very successful product reposition or enhancement. So the sixth opportunity, transparency. And the primary question is really how can you peel back the curtain, okay, on your workflow process, either with diagrams, before and afters, real-time dashboards. Is it photos or videos of your service being delivered or product being delivered? What can you share to your audience that they will view as value add? Okay, and of course, we're not talking about proprietary information or things that are confidential, but as far as what they can see that they will love or that they will consider valuable as it relates to their purchase from you, these are things to think about, okay? They bring customers closer to the purchase chain and process because they see the authenticity of what you're doing, okay? And it also can give them greater peace of mind if you're able to share workflow, okay? One example that we did is, and it's on our website if anyone's inclined to see it. We produced a video showing how one of our clients' technical departments filmed their inspection process to give customers peace of mind. Okay, that would be an example of a workflow video. If you have before and afters, okay, in other words, the impact of your work, you may not typically share that. You may typically document it only for internal cases, for instance. Consider if it does not hurt to share, if it does not put you at a competitive disadvantage, why not share those visuals? Because again, they will create deeper connection, which will lead to word of mouth, which will lead to retention, okay? Or vice versa, I should say. Real-time dashboards. So status dashboards could be another one. In other words, how close is my product to being done? We all see this with the likes of Amazon, Adidas, again, Domino's, all of these companies that put something in progress, so to speak, over the air, they give you these real-time dashboards or status updates of just how quickly you can expect your good or your service, okay? And so consider if your business can do something like that, because again, that creates more stickiness, AKA more connection between you and your customers, okay? And then lastly, pictures, videos of after delivery, okay? So for instance, if you delivered, let's say, a new sofa to someone, your business is home goods. You have a smiling customer. Is there an opportunity to show the customer happy with their new sofa, or happy with their new car, or happy with anything else they may have bought from you? Is there an opportunity for a video? The smiling faces behind the curtain, so to speak, of how satisfied you make your customers, consider sharing that and making that information transparent, because it creates connection. And then lastly, looking ahead and truly around the corner and priming the pump for 2021. So there are a few ways we can do that, okay? And as we tee up 2021, let's consider the following. Are there product launches that may have relation or a relativity to your existing products or services that you have planned? Do you have major events or trade shows planned? Is there new software or technology tools that you're planning on rolling out to your customer base or to the people who serve your customers that they should know about? Are you opening new locations? Are there strategic advancements that also affect your customers? These are 5 main buckets, but I'm certain there are others. 5 main buckets to look in. Say, what do we have planned, not this year, but maybe 1Q next year or 2Q next year that we can start working on now? Because unfortunately, there is growing sentiment that 2020 will have a write-off consumer demand component to it. And unfortunately, that's something that happens whenever there is a new shock to consumer demand. But that does not mean opportunity is lost. That does not mean there is no purpose to marketing in 2020. What it does mean is there's an opportunity to think even further ahead now than you could have in usual times, because there will be pent-up demand. There will be new opportunities in 2021 to reach the market in new ways. And chances are you have one of these 5 buckets on your business's front burner right now that you're looking at that could really help you start 2021 with a splash. Again, especially in these times where many businesses have seen sharp sales declines, reductions in marketing spend. Thinking about how to recapture potentially some of that loss, or how to come out of this even stronger than you've begun it, with a strong marketing plan and strong considerations about what's going to move your needle in 2021, that will put you ahead of the curve and help you look around the corner as it relates to making the future a success and maximizing how you spend your time today. And I'm just taking a brief check for slides. So going forward, okay, so hopefully you realize that the theme so far of the webinar and presentation is that opportunity does abound, okay? We saw that online sales spiked 130% just at the onset of this compared to their baseline, okay? We also saw that almost 50% of worldwide consumers plan to do more shopping online over the next year compared to what they did previously. And those are all stats from the landscape that paint the picture of opportunity. There's going to be more time spent online, more time shopping online. And when you consider some or all of these 7 ways and how people change their behavior in light of seasonal variants, in light of what they're doing at the holidays, in light of new product or service launches, in light of how they can bring their service to customers as an enhancement or a reposition, how they can be transparent. Those are all items to dig into in order to help uncover the best ways to maximize the second half of 2020. Okay. Certainly you want an established marketing personnel or partner in your business to help launch your plan. And remember, always stay focused on making the connection with customers. At its core, again, marketing is about connection. And as you look at these 7 ways and other ways to reach your market, if there's an opportunity to make a connection, that's where you know you'll be successful. If you feel like it's extremely challenging or almost impossible to make a natural connection, I would pivot elsewhere as you look forward, because connections oftentimes just feel right, as we know in business and when you're being marketing and advertised to. So if you focus on making that connection going forward, in light of the opportunity that abounds in the second half, I'm confident you'll have a very successful 2020 and into 2021 for the second half. So I did prepare some bonus items for you that are more or less turnkey solutions as to how you can get started with this growth and acting on this opportunity now. And in the case of these three solutions here, what I put forward are something that really requires no human involvement beyond the initial install at all. Of course, there's some spot checks and things like that, but three quick turnkey solutions that if you're not doing, I would highly encourage everyone to do in the near future. One, establish call tracking. Why? Because in times of reduced budgets, we need to be even more informed about which lines, which channels are really making our phones ring. And I think most business owners and marketing personnel would agree with that in general, but at a time like this where there's less consumption and even more necessity on spending your budget wisely, call tracking is a turnkey solution that can get down to the dollar and the individual call as far as what calls are leading to sales and which are not. Okay. Social listening tools. This is something that you can install just by entering your brand name as well as a few key phrases such as your product name, maybe your product category, maybe your competitors. What a social listening tool does is it simply scrapes the major social media platforms and gives you a summary of everyone talking about your product and how they are talking about it. Again, so when we talked about that treasure trove of customer information that exists on social media about them using your product, how they use your product, where they use your product, social listening tools, and there are numerous options out there, they bring this information back to you on an automated basis. They flag these users, they flag these mentions, and they give you a digest of how your brand, product, service, or competitors are being talked about. Okay? And that does not require any ongoing involvement to get that information sent to you. Lastly, heat maps on your website. Very simple. It tells you where people click and where they scroll on your website. Simply involves the application of a script on your website, which is a minor piece of code. And then a heat map collects all sorts of information around how people click on your website, what pages they visit, where they move their mouse, where they scroll on their phone, how far down your website they may go. Basically gives you an entire visual representation of your web visitors' behavior in a single screenshot. And so these are three turnkey, and some of them are free from various sources, three turnkey things you can do now to start uncovering these opportunities in order to get further ahead once we return to a normal business environment. There will be a lot of value in this data, and so I highly encourage everyone to act on it, especially call tracking, because it will almost immediately identify which of your marketing is waste and which creates an opportunity for even greater growth. So that was my final slide. And again, remember, I hope I can impress on all of you, in today's post-COVID economy, marketing will still be about connection. But what will change, and most likely for our lifetimes, is that connection will now be driven through digital. Digital tools, digital experiences, digital technologies. With people acting and behaving in different ways now and into the future, they are going to consume your products differently. They are going to interact with your business differently. They are going to expect more from your business digitally because that's going to be how they feel safe and convenient based upon their experience today. So as I plan to wrap up the presentation, I want to impress this upon all of you. If you can make a connection and there's a way to use digital to enhance that connection or fuel it, you will be in an immensely more promising and opportunistic place than not recognizing the opportunities digital tools and technologies can bring to your business in light of the outbreak. Please feel free to ask any questions at this time. Or Michelle, if you have anything you'd like to add or jump in here with, please feel free to interrupt.
Sure. Justin, thank you so much. While we're waiting for questions, I just wanted to reiterate a fact about using digital platforms. So pre-COVID-19, as most of you on the call know, and to those of you who are new guests for the Chamber event, we did not offer webinars. We did seminars live in person to give people opportunities to hand their business card out, get education. But, you know, all of our platforms were in person. So what has happened, obviously, as a result of COVID-19, we are now up and running using 3 different platforms. We use LinkedIn Live, actually 4, Facebook Live, GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, and of course, Zoom. So what's happening is we're getting registrations for people not only out of the county of Palm Beach County, from Miami County, Dade County, other counties in Florida. We're actually getting people out of state. And for the first time in my 1-year tenure at the Chamber, we actually have had people come to webinars from other countries. So as you can imagine, although this is such a challenging time, and that is an understatement, there are still and yet positive things happening where we're connecting in the theme of connecting to people that I would dare say we would have not been on their radar screen. We would not have necessarily connected to offer education, hopefully encouragement. And also we hope that we're offering opportunities for people to feel connected to each other and to our organization. So I definitely going to join you in that. And what's going to happen is we are going to continue our webinars in the future and into next year for obvious reasons that I just stated. So we look forward, like all of you, to getting back in person together, hopefully sooner than later. But in the meantime, this is an effective platform and something we were forced into, but I think is a good thing for us to move forward and to continue into 2021. Justin, if you, I can see on the call, I think we have a group of people that are work for themselves, work from home, they promote a service or an organization or multiple services. Do you have advice for them if they were going to pick one thing to implement or to put in their plan going forward post-COVID-19? What's one thing that you would encourage them to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would, to pick one is tough. If I had to, I would start with repositions and enhancements, and that's for a few reasons. So I can go to, on the screen here, this slide. A few reasons. One, they are something that you can roll out in most cases to your existing customers as opposed to having to find new ones. And the reason that is of course, because they're already doing business with you. And so giving them value adds or new ways to do business with you that's better in light of COVID, I think that would be a way that's going to be more productive than trying to find new customers at this time, because I simply see a lot of uphill battles to be fought in the latter example, as opposed to enhancing or repositioning what you're already doing will probably lead to easier adoption.
Okay.
I would
Great.
I would also, if you're a first mover, I think there's a major opportunity for first mover advantage in this case. So if you are a solo practitioner or work for yourself, and have an idea to enhance or reposition your service or product, I would say there's major benefit in launching it first. Maybe it not being perfect, but launching it first, because you may have tapped an area of unmet need in your client base.
Great. And you also mentioned that people should be, and forgive me, I don't know the technical term, paying attention to what people are saying about their service and product and them. What tools can they use to do that? Or what tools do you offer for people to be aware of that and watching that?
Yep, social listening. So that's the general category of the product. So just a couple things in the interest of transparency. We don't produce any of those products. None of them are ours, so we do license them. We use a few of them. One of them is very simple. It's called Listener. But there are a few, certainly happy to chat with anyone who'd like more detail on that. But the name of the tool is called Social Listening. And that's the actual platform that will bring back mentions of your brand name, your products, your service, competitors, category at large, for instance. That's the type of tool that collects all that information.
Okay, great. And we have just 2 minutes left. Justin, can you talk to us about how you and your organization use LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, the typical usual suspects for social media, and any tips you may have for, again, our smaller, locally owned businesses, especially right now, how they can use those to stay connected?
Yep, great question again. As far as where I would begin, I think the key is really beginning with the customer interaction. And what I mean by that is prompting on these channels, be it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, prompting, and you may have to incentivize your customer base slightly to show how they're using your product, or how they may want to use your product in the future. So you can prompt them for current applications of your product or service. You could simply create a poll and solicit customer feedback over those channels at this point. And of course, you want to do it in the interest of making their life better and easier in a post-COVID world. How can we serve you better? That would be how I would frame that question on social.
I think you raise a great point. That's a great place to end. If all of us are thinking about each other, the clients that we serve, when I get up in the morning, I think to myself, who can I serve today? Whose life can I make a little bit better? Who can I connect to each other and to the Chamber's resources to help them continue in their business? It's a different question, right? Asking, how can I help? What can I do? How can I be of service? So I think that's a great way to end the webinar. I do want to share with all of our attendees, please check out our website. We are now offering 2 to 3 webinars a week. Some of them are planned a week to 4 weeks or more in advance, and some of them are coming to us fast and furious. And we are also partnering with other chambers and other counties to present well-known speakers from, like, for example, we have next Thursday the CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, who will be giving a State of the Union on economic outlook. So we also have had Mark Wilson, who is the president of the Florida Chamber of Commerce for all of Florida, who's working closely with the governor and is sharing updates, very detailed statistics on everything from COVID-19 outbreaks to economic factors, to break down across the state of what's happening as far as policy changes, which, as you know, are happening fast and furious. We also have a COVID-19 emergency response webpage that is brand new since March 23rd, that has a lot of local resources as far as helping you or encouraging you or showing you where to apply for small business loans. Please do check that out. That is a resource that we are continuously updating almost on a daily basis so that it has the most relevant and recent information to help all of you. It also has state level resources and federal resources. So please do take a minute and check that out. There's a big red button on our homepage that says COVID-19 Emergency Response Resources. So just click on that and it will take you to the resource page. I also want to encourage everyone, support your local restaurants. We have so many wonderful restaurants here in Palm Beach County that are, of course, still open and offering takeout. Some of them are offering discounts and specials and BOGOs. We have a page on our website promoting our local restaurants that are chamber members. I would dare say most of the local restaurants are chamber members. So please take a look at that. Some of them are offering coupons through our website and special incentives for chamber members to visit them during this difficult time. So with that said, I just wish each of you to stay connected to each other, to other local businesses. And I love the question, what can I do to serve and how can I help? And we will get through this. And thank you for your time and attention today. And I hope that you join another webinar soon. And I hope that you have a peaceful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.